Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to a Solitaire mystery, where today we're taking on the final screen worth of Solitaire variants. I've been really enjoying this weird little exploration. I'm going to be a little sad when it's over, but we got some time before we get there. So, here, the entire deck is in one stack, and you're tasked with putting the cards in a neat order. It says surprisingly tricky at first, but that does seem like it would be difficult. What are the mechanics of that? Pile, yep, ascending order slots at the top. Okay, left clicking on a card that's a different suit and in direct descending order from the card on top of the stack moves the clicked card and the card immediately on top of it to the top. If the clicked card is a face card, 2 cards on top of it will be moved to the top of the stack instead of just 1. If the card on the top of the stack fits in one of the topmost slots, it'll move there automatically. Right-clicking on a card moves it to the bottom of the stack. You can only do this once at a time, and you need to left-click on a card to be able to right-click again. So that's why there's an indicator for right-click availability. Okay. So there's really only one meaningful direction here that we need to stick to. Left-clicking on a card that's a different suit and in direct descending order from the card on top of the stack moves the clicked card and the card immediately on top of it unless it was a face card. Okay, so like there's a 4 here. If we click, show me a 3. If we click this 3, yeah, we can see when we mouse over it, it pulls out. If we click the 3 and the jack will move down. And we would like to do this in such a way that we have aces coming out. So let's see here. There's an ace in front of a 4. That's very inconvenient. An ace in front of a 10, an ace in front of a 7, and an ace in front of a 10. So there's no way around this. It's going to require several sort of runs through. Although I guess I don't need to be thinking about it in terms of runs through the deck. It's not like we're going to be decreasing sequentially. It's always gonna be jumpy like this, right? Like we go 3 king, and then where are my queens? There's like a queen 4, a queen, or sorry, a queen 6. So you remember the queen double moves. And what we'd like to get up in front of something is like a 5 or a, well, a jack is tricky because a jack does not put the card that's directly in front of it up. It puts the next card up. Yeah, this is okay. This is gonna be a little weird. Because like we want it to be queen forward and then this jack, which will carry the 10 and then the ace forward. Okay, so none of these 3s immediately get us where we're trying to go, unfortunately. Okay, let's see. We do that one. It has to be a different suit. Okay, it has to be a different suit. So now we can click a queen forward to move that 5 up, and that allows us to move this 4 up with the ace on top of it. Okay. Great start. Great start. This 3 will get us the 2 and the 3. That's pretty fun and probably the right move. So once again, we want to try to get back up into like face cards or an 8. An 8 would be fine. None of the 5s really do the thing that we're looking for here. Oh, that's a 5 of the same suit. I'll grab this. Oh, right, and I have right click, so I can cycle a card back to the bottom of the deck if that would be more useful. And in fact, it would, right? Because one of our aces was sitting on top of a 4. Oh, but I think it was that ace, and I moved it using trickery. So at the moment, the right click's not actually what we want. We want to just play a 3, move things along, try to find ourselves an opportunity to do something like that. Okay. So 7 ace and 10 ace. So I can send this back to the bottom. Oh no, that was foolish. The 10 is of the same suit. Not actually helpful. And now I have to put up a different 10, which is... This 10's going to advance a 6. This 10's going to advance a 7. None of it's particularly useful. So then we can pull 6 leading into 5, 6 leading into 4. I need to go up. Ideally. 6 leading into queen is not horrible. That at least shakes things up a little bit. So we're still looking for play a jack or play an 8. The only things we can move to the front right now are queens. We can move a queen to the forward. To the forward? Or sorry, jacks. We're looking for jacks. There was a queen that moved an 8 up, which is a shame. Oh, this jack will move an 8 up, actually. And then we can run this 7 to the front, get our other ace. This doesn't seem... I think the biggest problem with this form of solitaire is that you're going to have a hard time foreseeing problems. Like if you do run into a snag, it will be a snag that you started many moves before, and it won't really be resolvable. I guess until you get the deck down to a smaller size. Once we've pulled more cards, there will be more available problems, and we'll be able to see them coming better. So for the moment, if I want to reveal... If I want to reveal some like 2s or something to get them out of the puzzle, I really can't. Yeah, the 2s and the aces are all kind of hidden. We could 6 to pull another queen. We also have the ability to pull this 7 backwards and play a 7 instead. Does that seem useful? Not particularly. Yeah, I feel like all of our jacks are in really weird places. All right, well, let me just do a 6-5 to the front because there's a 4th. There's a 4-3 over here. That I was looking at, but it won't work because the 4 is the same suit as the 5. Why was I trying to get this 4-3 down? Because I was going to use it to... I had like a 3-step plan. And gosh, I forget those easily. Oh, it was because if I could get this 3, if I get into a position to play this 3, then we can have a jack on top. So what I actually need to do is figure out how to get a 4 down. There's a 6-4 there that might have been a better play than this 6-5. We can flip the 5 down to... Well, I can flip the 5 down to the bottom, grab you, then play the jack forward. Except it's still... I did it again. It's the same wrong jack. I need a non-jack of hearts. A non-hearts jack. Okay. So that frustrating screw up aside, our 10s are going to put up... Our 10s are going to lead to putting a 7 in front, or a 2, or a 9. We're going to find our way around to a different jack, basically, is the idea. If I could get it, if I could put a 10 up front and have the 10 hold, actually, like, yeah, moving this 10 up, pulling that back so that we could then play this. Ah, that's the wrong 9. Shit. Well, okay, that's, no, that's pretty bad. I was going to play 9 jack forward, and I was like, the jack is even the right suit. It'll be the right jack, but it was the wrong 9 was the thing I stopped looking at. Boy. Feels a little bit like I just need to maybe focus on trying to get... Well, I can't really get to the other 2s or anything either. They're all locked behind jacks. So we're having a lot of jack type problems today. Who am I? Dr. Boskanovich? Right? We all get okay. I guess that's an 8. What am I doing? Yeah, I was gonna say, look, it's a nice high number with the 4 diamonds in front of it, but a nice high number is not always 9. There are some that aren't 9. All right, so now we pulled out those 9s so that the jack is in front of the 8, which then allows me to finally pull that 10. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have to put a card behind that 2 in order to be able to pull it up, and then we can just pull it right back to the front immediately, which is pretty great. We need to end up with a queen up front if I want to get access to these 2. What is the easiest way to put a queen up front? Either a 7 or a 6. Yeah, playing either a 7 or a 6 will get us a queen. The other one's kind of inaccessible because she's in front of a single face card. So playing the king won't get her, and playing the 3 also won't get her. We'll get to her eventually. So if we're going to try to play this down to a position where I can play a 7, then the easiest thing to do is just going to be to bring this 9-8 forward again, right? Except of course it's the wrong 7. Okay, we'll do this. Bring like... like 8-5 forward, discard this. So this does let us play down a series of values if we want, but it doesn't let me do the thing I need to do here, which is get a different 7, because every time I play a thing and then pull a card back, I can't affect the cards that are already down in the stack that way, which is a real shame. All right, well, where's the 3 of hearts then? We can go after that. Not really. That 7 brings queens. That 7 brings a 6. That one brings a king, which does let us make some different plays for sure. Now, unfortunately, playing either of these queens ends up with a non-queen card on the front, but if we bring these both up, or I guess I would be bringing one of them up, right? Because we can't play the Queen of Spades on top of the King of Spades, as ever. You know what? It might be better just to send the king back and play the 6 queen here, which then lets me... It's the wrong fucking queen. Oh my god. Okay. I'm very good at this. This particular thing. Okay, if we play this jack, it leads to an 8, which does allow us to play the 7 that leads to a queen, which is not the queen of clubs, so we get to play the jack forward and it gets to hit both of the 2s. And it was about goddamn time. Now I need access to a bunch of different numbers. Here we go. 10-9 allows me to crawl down. Because we actually have a fair number of direct dissension lines built now. So we could play most of our threes on top of this. Is there any reason to do anything other than play a 3 and then right click off the card that it brings to the top? I think the answer is no. Because once we do that, we get to play the other 3 and do the same thing. Unfortunately, the remaining 3 is the same suit. This is how you get yourself in trouble, though. If I take all these 3s out, and then the remaining 3 is the same suit, that does legitimately leave us with no card plays. So we have to not burn those cards in that order just yet. Okay, that lets me do that, and then I can do this and remove the 3s. We have to be very careful about putting ourselves in positions where we have like a value that's hard to access. Alright, so to get the rest of the queens out, or to get the rest of the 4s out, I need to be able to place either an 8 or a queen. Sevens are mostly yielding other 6s right now. So I guess this is kind of a danger too, getting like too much of your stuff in direct step down territory. Okay, if I play... Oh, that's right, this queen isn't going to play forth the 4, it's going to play forth the 8. Well, that actually works out just fine. Get the 8 down here, and then send the 8 back to the Shadow Realm so we get our 4. And then... kind of want to mix things up a little bit. I'm a little worried about the long-term ramifications of things being well ordered here as far as allowing us to pull stuff down to the bottom goes. Jacks gonna give us 9. 3 of the different jacks give us 9. The one jack we can't play gives us a queen, which is weird. Well, I suppose if we pull a jack like that, then we can go back here, grab an 8 that brings down a 5. Shoot, I really wanted that 5 because my plan was then to pull the 4 down on top of it with the queen, shuffle the queen to the back. Okay. And so there's a 4 left in the pool we can no longer pull down onto anything by itself. So we have to be fairly careful here. We got to get a 6 to the front now, which I guess is not a huge order. That was the wrong 6 to do it with, though. And you're the wrong 7. Okay, this should be fine. Pull up the 5-4. That'll pull both of those out. And then... the 2 remaining 5s are this one and the 5 of diamonds. The 5 of diamonds shouldn't be too hard to get. If I can get a 6 that leads us in a roundabout way. I guess we're going pretty roundabout, huh? Or sorry, a 5. I'm clicking on a 5. Except not that 5, right? And that's the only 5. That's the only 5 left in the deck, actually. So this is the only play that we have left if we do that. Yeah. You know what? I'm only willing to accept a certain number of backups before I've just like fucked it. Before I am borderline cheating. Okay, so if we do this, send you back there, then obviously it's pretty good to pull a pair of aces to the front. That did take my 2 as well, which I wasn't quite expecting. Hadn't really thought that one that far forward. If we pull this 2 forward, you can send a jack back, pull this ace forward, do that thing. I guess this doesn't allow us to pull the other ace forward either. I had to think about my right clicks. My right clicks are... The right clicks are a place where you can get into trouble. So I need to... Unfortunately, it feels like ace into the right click is the only way we're going to be able to get this ace anytime soon, because that's a king at the bottom of the pile that's underneath it. Although I guess that king wouldn't bring it to the front anyway. Not directly to the front. So we need to... I guess create a new situation where I can bring up a 2 and still like pull that one down on top of it. So we have to pull a 9 down. A 9 that isn't that. Oh, you can right click. That was a Twitch, by the way. But you can right click cards in the deck that aren't the top card. Yeah, any card. Okay. That's going to be important for later, for sure. So if we... In order to get rid of these aces, the jack can bring us to a 5, a 9. This one takes us to a 3 that immediately gets played, which I think is fine. And then, like... Well, the problem with this one getting pulled down is that I can't pull it down on top of that, too. So I would need to... Need to get a 4 going here. I guess, like, if we do this and then send this back, we can pull down a 3. Like, we can assemble, you know, the kind of thing. I guess I can also just pull down the 3-2 here and the ace 10. And if I send this 10 back... Now, if we send that 10 back, it's trouble. This is I'm recreating the same problem I had before. I'm just like cycling new cards on top of it. This one does take a little bit more thought than I had been initially expecting. Yeah, it's got to be a clean drop of those cards onto each other. So I'm actually going to separate the ace from the king then. So we can ace off that 7. And then it's like, let's just put a 9 there. And then a card that's going to provide an 8. This one. Yeah, drop the 7 in and then just like let that sit in order for the moment. So it'd be best to get a 3. A lot of my 3s are in kind of awkward spots, honestly. This one is the most accessible. So how do I make that the front? We need... Six, 5. Send this home so that I can pull those 4, 3 forward. And then this will get the ace and the 2. Okay. Now we have to be cautious about these 2s. So one of them is sitting in front of a queen. The other one is sitting with a queen on top of it. The other one's sitting with a king on top of it. I guess this is an opportunity to get a king onto the stack, which will let us manipulate cards that are in the neighborhood of queens, which is a thing that we often cannot do. We're trying to create a situation where we can have a 7 or a 6 come down to get rid of the 2s. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like setting up a king, meaning that we have to pull queens, is actually all that likely to help here. We can, of course, send the 3 back. Yeah, I don't hate that, actually. Because then that lets me pull 3, 7. Well. No, this works. 3, 7. And then this 6, 2. Which clears my 2. And then we have a 5 running into a 10, a 5 running into a 4, 5 into an 8. Yeah, the 8 works. Hand twitch. That doesn't count as an undo. For whoever's counting. Alright, that allows us to use this 7 to bring this 2 to the 4. We're gonna have to send somebody back to rescue this 3 at some point. I guess, you know, it could just be right now. Send the 7 back and then bring it forward again. Our next 3 is in front of a king. And this one here is in front of a 4, which obviously we could just work down to eventually. But I do think it behooves us to be kind of careful here and make sure things are going down in approximately the same order. Which I think means that's a reasonable play. So in order to get access to you, I'm going to have this king not be here. We also need to get a jack on top of the stack, which situationally we're not well suited for. If I put the 3... Oh, no, I can't. I can't put the 3 and the 7 up. That 4 is of the wrong suit. Well, then... Where is the red? The red 4 is the one I'm looking at. What am I talking about? Oh, we gotta separate this king from this 3. In order to be able to play the 3 ever, we're gonna have to do that. So let's start there. No, except, sorry, this isn't a moment where I can start there because I have to use my right click to probably send this back. Which is, you know, it does something. It gives us we can pull this 4 to the front, which is kind of cool. That gives me another drop back. We drop back and bring up that 10. This gives us a little bit more ability to figure something out. And this is probably an okay time to drop the king back and free that 3 up. Now the question is just how do we set up from here? Well, I can use this 9 to pull that 4. We need to pull the red 3 and the red 4. But we'll get there. We'll figure that out. If we use... So right now it's a 10 that brings us the 3. So we need to put a jack up. 2 of the jacks are like way back here with all these kings. One of them is hanging off of a 5. And one is hanging off of a queen, which I guess is kind of natural. We can make the 6 work. Right, we do this and then pull the 10 and the 3 up. And then we could walk. Yeah, 9-6 becomes 5-4, peeling both the 4 and the 5. Yeah, and as long as we continue to advance like somewhat evenly, somewhat carefully, I'm confident we can do good work here. I can. So what's the 5 that's left? Okay, if I pull this 10 back to the back and move these 5s up, it'll clear both of them. I'm not allowed to move this 5 to the front, but I will have a right click available, right? Like dump this 10 out of the middle. Yeah. Okay, so we can figure out something else to do in order to get rid of that 5. Ten's kind of tough. Well, okay, if we send the 6 back, send up an 8-7. No, I'm not going to be able to... These are split up wrong. I'm not going to be able to remove 8 from the puzzle in the way I need to. We really want to be playing that 9 down on its face, because that's how we get our 5. 7s are going to make 8 or 6 or king. That's a little bit of a... Like I want it to go upward a little bit, but that's probably overkill. Yeah. Okay, if we can do something that puts a 7 on the front, we can line up a 10 with this 6-10 pair here. So even just like 7 right click out the 8 should work, right? And then that allows me to go 9-5, clear the 5, and we're still getting down pretty evenly. That 8-6 is not actually available. If we move y'all to the front, we can go 6. All right, this is where we have to not fetch the next 6, because if I were to do a right click here, I'd leave us without another move afterward. But we can kind of like loop these low values. So if we do 9-10, then it'll be 9-8, and then we'll be playing 7-6. So yeah, that should work. 9-10 into 9-8 into 7-6 to pull that 6, and then we gotta get the other one, which is reliant on a 9. Which is gonna be, you know, marginally difficult to set up. I guess not, really. There's a 7 with a 9 on top of it there, but it's the wrong... once again. It is the wrong 9. Well, 8-10 here will let me set up a different 9. Although not that one, obviously. So we can right-click this back to the thing and get the 8s. And then we can like serve a couple through just right-clicking the card off the top of them. But at some point you have to start taking it a little bit more seriously. So throw the Joker on there just to give us a little bit of space, and then it's like Joker 10, 9, 8, 7. Right click this away, pull that up, right click this away, and then put down the 7. Oh, the right click pulled I wasn't counting on that 8 being... Yeah, no, I suppose any 8 is going to, right, be a movable thing. Not any 8, but many 8s. So if we pull, then it's the red 8 that wouldn't immediately go to the pile. Yeah, but that's not what I need. I need to get this 7 out of here before we start worrying about that. So don't really have a good way to move a 10 to the top of the pile right now. Yeah, 10, 10, and then the last 10 is... Oh, it's the one right under the 9, of course. It was a little bit of a challenge. We can pull these 8s forward, I think mostly harmlessly, and then still got to get that 7 figured out. I mean, it might be the case that just starting at king is something we have to do here. We're going to try to generate ourselves down to an acceptable joker or acceptable jack play. These queens are unfortunately set up in kind of an awkward way, because this is just going to put king back on top, but it does then mean I can do this queen here to move the 7 up. I was talking like that jack was going to do it, totally not thinking until that moment that obviously the jack would then move another card. All right, the remaining 8 is off of a 10, so that works pretty well. We have a pair of 9s here that'll just feed themselves. And then... yeah, 9, 10. I mean, we're doing this. If I right-click this back, we have to get a different jack to the front. If I want to just, you know, fire these back by clicking on the jacks. So if we right-click you to the back and then we move... Actually, I guess I would just move the same jack to the front, right? Because it's then just a jack with 2 10s on it. The jacks are all, again, spaced out pretty weirdly. But if we send you to the back and we go queen, queen, jack up front, then... So like I was talking about, this is where you can start to get yourself into some danger, depending on how you pull things. So we got to put the jacks... Huh. Yeah. All right, if I send a jack to the back and then move this queen king thing forward. I mean, I need a spacer. Is this going to work out at all? Okay, then you have to send back a queen in order to be sure that you can set a jack on top of that pile. And then queen, queen, jack here gets us this. And if we can just get these two queens... There we go. That's a weird one. That feels weird to play. I definitely was not feeling at my sharpest for that. All right, tear solitaire. You'll need to tear cards in half in order to get through this otherwise fairly standard solitaire. Playable with a standard deck? Yes. Remarkably. I guess as long as you don't need your deck for anything afterwards. Pile cards of every suit in ascending order on the slots on the right. You pile and move sacks in descending order alternating suit. Right-clicking on a card tears it in half. Card halves can be stacked as if they were any card value of their suit, but two card halves cannot be stacked. You can tear up a maximum of 4 cards because the solitaire would become unsolvable beyond that. Okay. Card halves can be stacked as if they were any card value of their suit. And we're still doing descending order alternating suit in the stacking area. Okay, so how do you even begin to approach a thing that's this low frill? So when you tear up 2 cards, when you tear up a card, it's gonna create 2 halves. What do we do with them? Any card value of their suit. But with no extra slots or anything, like, you're locked up right away on these. How am I going to reach anything to get rid of anything? So the aces are deep in this pile and deep in this pile. This pile also has some 2s though, so I think we're going to try to liberate this pile first. So let's tear this card up. Put this here as a 7 to let us move the 6. The 13, the other 13s, oh whatever. So that allows us to move this to here. Does it let me do this? It does, because it is both a 5 and a 10. That's pretty nuts. All right, how do we create more room to move around here? It's really a shame that we get this like 8, 9, 10, 12 streak up front and it's all diamonds. It's all the same suit. If I move the 12 out somewhere, we can move the 9 onto the 10. Maybe the 12 is a tear in half. Actually can't free up the 10 for the 9 very easily, which is the thing I was not really considering. Okay, so we can put this here. But this here is a 5, which will... No, it won't, right? It's the same damn suit. Alright, well, let me do this for a second so that I can put this on a 10 that is appropriate. And then... we can use that 13 as both a 9 and an 8 to let it link a 9 to an 8, which is a little strange. All right, the wrong suit. So if we pull these to here... this isn't really where I want this 10. I'm trying to figure out how do we get like the 7 lined up with the 8 and then the 6. All right, let me swap these. You can sit there, so we can put a 7 here, a 6 there, and then if I can find a place to move this, well, we can move this 12 onto this 13, which lets me pick up this 8 and put it on this 9, which gets me access to another half of a red card. What we're missing here really is an 11. There is an 11 in there, but it's the same. There's an 11 in this stack and pretty close to visible, but it is unfortunately the same color as my 12, or the same suit. Alright, well, we can move this out for the moment. Make that happen. That's something. If my... okay, if my card halves were distributed slightly differently. You can't stack a card half on top of a card half either. That's a bummer. Alright, well, let's put this here, put these cards there, because I want to be able to move this 4 onto here, obviously. So we need half of a card to do that. We're getting close. We're digging deep. Yeah, I really need a lot of torn card halves here to be able to unite these things. I guess I can move this 6 over here for the moment, allowing me to move that 6 there. Then we have a 7. Well, actually, a 7 and an 8 that can be moved here. We're not going to have the ace for this 2 for quite some time. Nor it's 3, probably. So I can't really combine these any better. I could rip a card up. Yeah, I mean, that's not horrible. I'm curious about something. Hold on, is there a way that I can test this right now? No, not really, it seems like. Okay, that's a little frustrating. Alright, if I move this to just somewhere for the moment, here we can put this 6 on here and then reclaim ourselves part of a card. Which will let this stack. No, it won't. It's the same damn suit. There we go. I'm not actually sure how putting the card, how putting cards into the area here is going to work. I'm gonna tear up a card just for testing purposes. Okay, so you can't put a you can't put a torn card away, but I was gonna back up there, but I didn't actually do it, and it just let me put the laying the two halves of the card together, just repaired it. So I'm wondering if that is the way that we're supposed to deal with spending cards, because in theory you should not be able to recover from a lost card. But clearly we can. At least I hope they're shooting straight with us. Gosh, if only I could figure out what to do with this 12. This 4 has... yeah, no place in our current food chain due to a serious lack of 5s. All the 5s are deep in this pile for some reason. Oh, there's one over there. It's actually kind of a major inconvenience. Yeah, okay, so if we pull the 12, I'm trying to figure out how do I salvage one of my torn in half cards, and I think the answer is I don't. I just move these here, move this 12 to there, so we can move that to there, and then pull a 13 aside with a torn card on the bottom of it. Although, actually, put this here, put this 11 there, move the 10 directly to the top of all of it, and then that frees up another half of a card. So I can just no, I cannot reattach them at any time. It was just because that one card was the last thing I'd done was tore it up. It let me effectively undo it. Well, that's nice of them. Alright, so an important 2 and the other aces are in this pile, so this is where we're going next. So this bit over here is all mixed up. I guess we can do this just to get these cards out of the way. Once again, we're suffering from a serious dearth of 5s. This 4 is actually kind of awkward to deal with. The 8 sort of doesn't do anything for us either, but at least it sits on top of that 4. Or the 3, rather. Sits on top of that 4. So this 8 can go over here. We can pull you down to there for the moment. And here we go with some higher valued cards. Well, at the very least, we've got that. Now, I am allowed to tear up one more card. But we probably want to be a little careful with that. So, okay, what are we using cards in place of? This 2 is just a linker. We have a loose 8 that can't really fit anywhere without a 9 to seat it on. Then we go 11, 10, link to some low-end stuff that unfortunately is not compatible with the low-end stuff that we already have out. If we rip up the 10 of hearts, it would certainly give me some place to... Yeah, this is our 4th card. It give me some place to hold the 11. The 2 goes out of the puzzle immediately. The ace comes down, and that's also pretty good, pretty fast. Then we can start rebuilding things from there. I probably don't want another torn card of that same suit, though, right? I think it's probably better to tear the 12. So we have 2 hearts torn already. Let's put this here. Let's move the 10 aside. Move the 11 onto something. And then I have to get to my 2. There's a lot of hearts showing right now, which is very inconvenient. Alright, there's 3. Then this can be moved aside to get to that 4. So our green 2 is... I see the 3 and the 4. The green 2's in here. Okay. So actually, I can pick that whole region up. The red 2 is... the bottom of this stack. Very annoying, actually. Yeah, no, that's like super annoying. Alright, move the red barrier to here. Here, I guess. Move this to there so that we can start to form a little bit of a real chain of values, which will help us with the eventual unraveling. This 5, I suppose, can sit aside for the second just to get us access to that. As we gain, like, these 4s and 5s and stuff, unfortunately, we're not actually going to be able to use them for very much at the moment. If I move this to here, we can move that 4 onto there, freeing up one of the partial cards. So if we can sort all this stuff to the side, I can get a 9 and then an 8 onto there. Then we have a reasonable 7, so like just pull this 6 out of the way so that we can rearrange some things. This can go on top of the 6. It doesn't help anything. Man. Everything's always complicated, huh? Move this 10 here and then move this here. We can swap this torn card to there, this torn card to here, to allow me to move this whole stack onto there. That's something. Then I can move this to here, allowing me to move these 5s over to there. And actually that 4 is collapsible. So we'll just pull some cards to the side here, get the 4 out. Then I can move things back over. See, now I'm having to manage the half cards as blockers, which is a little inconvenient. Yeah, we have a half card on a half card here, which is obvious cheating. We definitely need to get to the base of this stack. This doesn't help me. If I move the 5 down here, I can move the 12 up here and then move the 4 over. Okay, so now I've got that open. That'll let us move some considerable chunk of something. If we go 5 to here, relocate this part, we can pull some things together a little bit. Yeah, just any 2 cards. I can pull them apart. They can be used as a temporary slot for holding a torn card, as long as neither of them is the same suit as the torn card. So if we were going to drop stuff in here, this is actually the illegal stack break, right? So we have an 11. Okay, let me pull the 7 to here just for a second. Collapse these a little bit differently, you know? Okay. So if we're doing that, right, this 9 is unfortunately the same suit as that 10, which does complicate the problem slightly for a moment. Just a moment, we'll be okay. Just move you to here. We can get rid of that. This 13 can go live over here for a minute. That lets us pull a 9 down. I don't know exactly what to do with this 11. A lot of the wrong type of torn in half card available to us. Is there a way that I can it's not really a good way to pick it up. I guess I can move this 5 to here, we can move you to there, and then we can just pull some of these cards from the puzzle. That 2 is incredibly critical. And then it's like from here, how do we do it? This stuff allows me to move a bunch of chunks out. That 10 goes to there. But yeah, like, what are we going to do with these torn cards once they are blocking everything, right? Once there's no longer a place in the puzzle for torn cards, which is a thing we're, you know, rapidly approaching. Let me just grab this one out of the way for the moment. Do the same thing over here. Just tuck these into the bottom of the puzzle. I mean, we're going to figure out what our options are here pretty quickly. Alright, so that needs a 7. Can I put them back together in a position where they would be legal? Like, let's say I do this. No. Well, then I don't exactly know how I'm going to be able to turn in the scenario. Maybe the lesson here is going to be that we cannot, that tearing up cards is not a smart thing to do. That's not how you play card games. Because, you know, to be fair, it isn't. And for good reason. Yeah, I'm rapidly running out of places to put stuff here. The funny thing is, it says that you can tear up a maximum of 4 cards because the solitaire would become unsolvable beyond that. But, like, isn't the solitaire unsolvable now? Oh, I can place the half cards on the stacks. Okay. As a full representative of the card that it was. Weird. I suppose that's a fine way to solve that. But that's weird. Okay. Yeah, tearing up three 12s and a 13 definitely feels like the right approach to that, right? Okay, 2 more down, and they're just getting obviously visually weirder from here. So that's gonna be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It's a nice little stretch for my brain. When you come back next time, we'll be taking on, what are these? 52 card solitaire, which of course is different from the okay, and also time travel solitaire, which seems like it's going to be just a total nightmare, maybe. So come back for that, and we'll see you then.